So with regard to memories, the process of remembering, is even for yourselves, is a very emotional process when you think about it, isn't it? There are many memories in your own life that you've forgotten because they're of certain emotional signatures attached to those memories. So for many people, for example, they have deeply suppressed much of their childhood because of the hurt feelings that they have inside about much of their childhood. And the process of actually opening towards God is a process of actually opening completely to yourself emotionally as well, which means at some point you will come to remember everything again about your life, and you'll deal with the emotion of it as you remember, to such a point that you'll no longer have an emotion about that memory anymore. So you'll no longer want to suppress the memory. And you'll remember even things like what happened when you were 2 years of age, 3 years of age, 5 years of age, 7 years of age, good and bad things or damaging things that have happened to you. But not only that, you'll also get to remember your own sleep state. In other words, every single night when you go to sleep, you'll have a period, you have a period of, let's say it's 8 hours that you're asleep, well, you have a period of 8 hours that actually you have a life in the spirit world. Your body, your physical body is left here on the earth, and your soul and your spirit body enters the spirit world, and you do things all night. And for most of us, even that period of our life, we can't remember, right? But you'll also get to a point, once you keep progressing and opening up emotionally, you'll get to a point where you can even remember that as well. So in the end, you'll get to a point where you remember all of your life that you're capable of remembering. Now, obviously, a child at 1 year of age has very little cognition in an intellectual capacity, because it takes for the brain from 1 to the age of 7 to develop. But from an emotional perspective, that child feels everything. The child is completely feeling right from the moment that it's actually incarnated, from the moment that it's conceived. And so from that moment on, you've got all these feelings, some of which you would prefer to forget and some of which you prefer to remember. In the end, you'll get to a point where you remember everything because there is no preference to forget. And the preference to forget is based on the hurt that we're yet to process emotionally. Now, the reason why I bring that up is that for every one of the 14 that I've mentioned that have returned to Earth, they have to go through that same process of remembering, the process of allowing the emotions, the emotional signatures of each memory. So do you mind me mentioning something we were talking about today? Mary and I were processing emotionally quite a lot today, because we were going through memories of our first century events in our first century life, of what happened and how we felt towards each other, but also towards what was going on around us. And we were talking about the events surrounding my death and what the different emotions that Mary was feeling about that now. So she's still having, just like I still have feelings about those events now. And she was getting into the emotion of remembering all of the different things that happened after my death to her, the different ways in which she was closed down and shut down by the so-called disciples, and what happened with regard to them listening to her and things like that. And there's a whole set of emotions associated with that we have to go through. And so that's what we're going through. So our process of remembering is the same as your process of remembering. And that is, you have to be open emotionally in order to remember. And so what I'd like to encourage you to do is to open up emotionally to every little bit of childhood terror and pain that has occurred, and allow yourself to remember it and process it emotionally, allow yourself to feel it emotionally. And then as you do that, you'll find that you'll become free of it. And as you become free of it, you'll get to the point where you remember everything, but you no longer have any pain about everything that happened. And really that's a part of this process of coming towards God, opening to God. Does that help you with the question that you asked? Like, I know it was a long-winded answer, right? I always give long-winded answers.